Yeah, I think we're golden.
Okay, awesome. Hi,
Hello,
hi everyone.
everyone. We made it. So we are going live on Facebook as well as on Instagram. So I'm here with Dr. Mansi Vira, and we are going to talk a little bit more about breathing into hope, what that means, and just a little recap on the talk that Dr. Mansi gave us, which was so wonderful, so insightful, so inspiring, pun intended. And so if you haven't had a chance to listen to that or to watch that, you can still sign up for the Your Healthy Mind Summit. It's totally free. We're doing this for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is the month of May. So completely free, just our gift to you all. So all you have to do is register. You can sign up at drkirsten.com/YHM22. It just stands for Your Healthy Mind 22. So you can find us there, sign up. You'll still get access to all of the talks, including, like I said, Dr. Mansi's wonderful and very inspiring talk. So if you hadn't had a chance yet, please feel free to sign up so you can get access to that. So we're just going to chat a little bit more about that. So Dr. Mansi is a naturopathic doctor as well as a breath coach. And she does so much in the mind, body, medicine realm, and just has so many tools in her toolbox to help us all. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Kirsten, and doing this wonderful summit. Again, it's a free gift to everyone, and all the talks are so amazing. So thank you so much for hosting it.
And thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I think it would be a good place to start out with just kind of recapping on, what does hope mean to you? And, how has breathing into hope, this idea of that, helped you?
Yeah, so it's a great question because I think we all have like that dictionary definition of hope, that feeling of expectation, that desire of for something to happen, and in one sense that holds true for me as well. But I think for me, it's more of an abstract concept of this deeper inner rooted, like when you say the soul's energy type of thing, it really is that deeper connection for me that something greater is out there, and I just have to hold on to that core belief to get through this really hard and challenging phase in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you share
Yeah.
your story in your talk. So again, if you haven't yet had a chance to listen to that, then you definitely want to tune in. But if you could maybe just give some examples of, using that as kind of a guidepost, like using hope as that guidepost for people who
Yeah.
I think we've all maybe had a time in our life where we've felt that hopelessness, that sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my talk, I go through several examples, but I can share a couple that I think really resonate with me. And one of them being letting go of that past programming, that negative self-talk, that negative cycle that we all get into from time to time, whether it's for something big or small, it doesn't even matter, but it's that past programming that we have. And it's really hard to see past it sometimes, especially when you're stuck in. For me, it's a chronic health issue, days that I can't get out of bed, literally, or days that my body is literally paralyzed, and it's really scary. I'm in so much pain from top to bottom, so it's almost like my body is telling me one thing and I'm trying to reprogram, in that way of like, things will be okay. You have to get through this, and you will get through this. And it's a lot of inner work that it takes to get from A to B to that, to that other side. So letting go of that past programming, because essentially these are the limiting beliefs. We all talk about limiting beliefs in all walks of life, but we want to be able to push through these limiting beliefs so that we can get to the other side. And that's where a lot of my hope stems from, really tapping into that like core understanding and really believing that things can get better. And this was in some sense meant to teach me something so that I can get from point A to point B. And another one that I talk a lot about is breath work and breathing. Yes, I'm a breath coach, but I kid you not, breathing has so much power, and we all are hearing about the power of breath work more and more these days, but it truly is that powerful. I mean, if you think about it, like what happens when we are nervous, our breath changes, right? It becomes more rapid, it becomes more shallow. And what happens when we're joyous and happy and cheerful, our breath changes again. It's more deep, we're able to enjoy the moment. So in just a couple of minutes, and you can try this for yourself too, in just a couple of minutes, you can shift your state of mind. And when you can shift your state of mind, you can shift how you feel about yourself, and you can feel more empowered. And that's what breathwork does for me. And that's how I work with others to help with breathwork as well. Just to be able to shift from that sympathetic to parasympathetic mode in a few minutes. I think there's nothing more powerful than our breath. And I think the other thing around, when we're in situations like, for example, my own health, it's beyond my control, right? When I'm having these paralytic episodes, it's beyond my control. And what we seek for as a human race, as a human, is control. We want to be in control of everything. We want to be in control of our situation. And more often than not, we won't be able to. And what happens when we're not in control? We lose it. We get angry, we get frustrated, we cry, we get emotional, or we suppress it. And none of these are healthy. They're okay to express. It's great to be able to express it, but it's not healthy to carry forward. And breath work actually allows you to take control, because you can control your breath. So I say that to my clients as well, who I'm working with, that breath work is the only control we have in the moment. And so if we use that power, we can move through, and that is what helps me go through my paralytic attacks when I'm having them. The pain that I'm experiencing, I just go back to the breath, and I find that the control just comes back to me. The power comes back to me.
Yeah, that is such a powerful, like you said, a powerful tool, but also a powerful awareness that even just being aware that we have this tendency, right, to want to have control. And there's, like you said, there's so much outside of our control, but there are these things that we do have in the moment that we can utilize that are within our control, right? So the breath work giving us that ability to bring us back, to where we're at. So then we can begin to feel a little bit more of that sense of, okay, I'm here, I'm safe.
Exactly.
I am in control of this moment, right? Or at least of how I feel in this moment. And I think that is just such a powerful tool.
Thank you.
Yes. And let's see. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. You're helping to remind us of these wonderful insights as Dr. Mansi goes along here. Breathwork is the only control we have in the moment. When we use that power, we can move through moments we feel out of control, and then the power comes back to me. Yep.
Love that.
You said that. That's from you.
Yes, but so well summarized, Dr. Sarah. Yeah.
Those are your quotes. She's helping us out here. So,
thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because I do think so much of when we get into that feeling of despair, right? Like that is such a it can be such a deep feeling that it's really difficult to see that light, right? That sense of
Yeah.
hope, that light. So just having some tools to help us in those times when we're feeling those moments of hopelessness or of despair. So then we can begin to regain that sense of, like I said, that sense of safety,
Yes.
which really is what the control is all about, right?
Mhm.
It's this fear that's coming from this place of fear. So if we can
Yes.
hold on to just a little, a little moment of that safetyness, which I think is, what breath really helps us attain, um,
Yeah,
then we can
absolutely.
begin to shift, right? Um, yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And I
Yeah.
remember one of the kind of key pieces that you talked about in your talk was of finding purpose. Can you talk a little bit more about that aspect, and again what it means to you? Because I do think, we hear a lot about purpose, and
Mhm.
everyone has kind of a different take on it. So what does that mean to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Because I think for me in this whole journey of going through almost, almost not making it alive and then coming back, recovering, and then again going backwards and having these repeated cycles, um, it's not only scary, but it's almost like, what am I doing here? And all these weird questions start popping up in your head. Like, why am I even here? Why am I like, I'm not able to do what I'm meant to do? And at that point, I had just graduated as a naturopathic doctor. So I was like ready. I'm like, I'm gonna go out and help people. And here I was, a patient myself. And it was really like this ironic reality that like I want to be this doctor and I want to start helping people. This is why I went to med school. My whole life revolved around this dream. And why am I now the patient? And unfortunately perhaps a long-term patient, with these
Mm.
illnesses. And and it just, it was that negative cycle of thinking again that like, I will not be able to come out of this. Will I ever be able to help people? And I realized that my purpose to serve others was slowly being clouded by these other thoughts and my own reality. And for a while, for several months, I went through that deep dark phase, being alone and really not having much support around me, whether it was friends or family, people who were really not understanding and just were not giving any positive feedback and rather were giving more negative feedback. So it was almost like everything that was coming to me was making me not have a purpose, in life anymore. And then it was just literally a switch of a button one day, and I'm like, no, like, why am I here? I'm here to serve people. That's what I want to do as a doctor. And maybe this is why I'm going through what I'm going through. And shifting that perspective of, I am going through this, and other people in the world are definitely going through things like I am, who have gone to doctor after doctor and were told that things are, maybe it's in their head, and maybe, their symptoms are not real, and things that I faced and I was dismissed by doctors. And maybe that's my purpose, to connect with those people,
Mm.
to be able to listen to them, to be able to help them. And I'm slowly finding that in the past couple of years, those are the patients that are coming to me. I feel like my purpose is now finally begun to, being served. So yeah, I think holding on to that purpose is so important, because if you don't, if you don't have a purpose, no matter how big or small it is, maybe it's just to, be with your friend or be with your family. Maybe that's your purpose, like to serve your mom or whatever it is, but just holding on to it and not letting anything else take control over you, I think is really, really important, because that's what's going to get you to push through in your toughest days, toughest of
Yeah.
times.
Well, and to me, the letting go part and this are deeply connected, right? Because if we're holding
Yeah,
on to this idea or this expectation of what we think our purpose
right.
is, or what it may have been, or even just that expectation, or like I said, holding on to this idea or this identity,
Hmm.
um, then we're not able to pivot and see, okay, well, then right now, what can I find purpose in this
Right.
moment, for where I'm at right now? And
Hmm.
that's that journey that you just explained, right? Was letting go of this, well, I just graduated. I did all of this
Right.
hard work. How am I supposed to help people now? Right? Letting go of the way that, maybe um having the thought that what it would look like, right?
Yes.
In order to now see, wow, like I can really help people in this other way, right? Like I think,
Exactly.
yeah, I think
Yes.
that is a big piece of what I got away or what I took away from your talk and your story is this idea of being able to let go of
Hmm.
what we currently identify as. You can think of like an athlete for an example, right? If an athlete gets injured or
Right.
for dancing, right? For you, that's a big part of
Yeah.
your life. And I think a lot of athletes can resonate with that, with an injury or just a life change, and having to pivot and kind of re-find the purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Yeah. And you bring up such a great point, and uh in the comments too, the remembering your why. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really is, because it's I felt like my other identity of a dancer, so a
yeah,
doctor and dancer, were
yeah,
both lost. I couldn't dance. I still
yeah,
can't dance. And not only did other people identify me as that dancer as well, but that was a huge part of who I am and who I was. And dance was my meditation. Dance was everything to me. And not being able to engage in something, when people go through their hardships, whether it's journaling, whether it's dancing, whatever it is for them, they're able to engage in those things. And I wasn't able to engage in any of them. I wasn't able to dance, and still not. And I felt like, what was I doing? Like, what is happening to me
mm,
that like I can't do it. And then it goes back to reconnecting with your authentic self. Like, you're here for a reason. And yeah, it did take several people to tell me that before I started believing in it. But it was important for that to happen, that we're here for a greater purpose, and we just have to hang on to that, and see it through. And sometimes that's what happens. We get the support and help along the way. I In my talk, I talk about many more tools to kind of help you see things through to get to the
mhm.
other side. But yeah, you bring up that important point of being able to let go of these identities and let new ones kind of enter in, which all will come together and reconnect to bring a new version of yourself in some way.
Yeah, and I just think like everyone could really benefit from this understanding because when we think about even just life phases, life transitions, retiring, like all of these things, or even graduating school, right? We identify as a student, like everyone
Yeah.
can really relate to this idea of having to let go of an identity,
Yeah.
because we all go through change. Like that's part of life, is there's these different phases. So whether you are someone who is dealing with a chronic condition, or whether you're someone who is transitioning through a life phase and having to let go of part of who you
Yeah,
identified as. I
so
think
true.
everyone can really relate and benefit from this type of information, from this type, of knowledge and self-awareness. So then we can allow ourselves to become that next version, right, of ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, such a big, I just really think everyone could really benefit from the work that you do
Oh,
and your
thank you.
story. Yeah, it's just a
Thank you.
really important to me for resiliency too, right?
Oh, yeah, to work through that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then you also talked about like compassion and compassion practice. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that aspect of finding hope.
Yeah. So compassion, and I think compassion really for ourselves in the moment. And I mean, compassion is such an important human characteristic to have towards other people, but also not forgetting yourself. And um, I think throughout life, I've been that go 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 person. A lot of us have through we're in a very competitive world, a very fast paced world, and we kind of lose ourselves, and we always have this next mission to strive for, and compassion gets lost for ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves, we don't listen to our needs or acknowledge our needs. But I think because I had so much time to sit with myself, still have that time to reflect so much. It's about like really acknowledging what you feel, because no one will go through what you go through. We can get as close as possible to understanding and empathizing with someone, but we can't actually go through what another person goes through.
Mhm.
And realizing that to my core, also started that process of self-compassion for myself, of being able to acknowledge what I'm feeling. And while I still do feel bad from time to time for how I feel, it's really brought that awareness to me that this is how I feel in this moment, and this is the best that I can do, and this is the best that I can offer, and it is enough. And it was a hard thing to, kind of to kind of accept and acknowledge that this is enough. But it was more about, I think the breath work really helped me understand that and recognize that, like almost pushing out some emotions through the breath
Mhm.
work, and really sitting with myself and breathing through these harder emotions and being able to accept it at the end, was my journey to compassion for myself.
Yeah, that's such a big part to me of healing is that self-compassion, that self-acceptance and that self-love, right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
sometimes easier said than done, but I think it helps if we can have that for ourselves, it becomes easier to have that for
For
others.
others. Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
yeah, and I think we could all
Yeah.
use more of that, right?
Yeah, and it actually connects to also being honest with yourself, because I think, and we talked about this, Dr.
Mhm.
Kirsten, a lot, and your talk revolved a lot around that honesty, that deep honesty. But it really does come back to that, because um, I've had a lot of shame around my illnesses. I've had to carry a walking stick and need support. I still need support when walking. Sometimes my muscles get wonky and I may fall and things like that. And it does bring a lot of shame and embarrassment around me, because I'm a dancer, like balance was my thing. And I've had to hear it from other people too, that who don't understand or empathize, and they're like, what happened all of a sudden? Like you were dancing not too long ago, and like now you can't even walk, like what's going on? And sometimes it's the lack of understanding from the other perspective, or it's just someone not trying to be empathetic, and both situations we're always going to face. That's just the reality of life. But it was really hard for me to be honest with myself navigating these types of situations and scenarios and my reality. So it took a while for me to start getting to that honest place with myself that, like, this is again my reality and this is where I'm at. And the more honest I was, I felt like the breath work was able to push through and help me, to help me to get where I am today, which is not a perfect place by any means, but it's a place where I can say, like, I have been able to empower myself and will continue to empower myself.
Mhm. Oh, such a powerful journey. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat,
Yeah.
whether it's about your own journey or about some of the tools that we've talked about so far. Feel free to ask while we're here. And then how about, because you talked about, just really like listening into your body uh and not forcing things, which again I think so many people could benefit from from this side of your talk too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes very much hand in hand with becoming a naturopathic doctor, being attuned to the different cues, so to
Hmm.
speak, that the body gives, and we're so used to just pushing through whatever it is, even if we're tired, even if we're sleepy, and not understanding like what's really going on the inside. What is my body really telling me? What is it asking for in the moment? And because I had all this time on my hands, I didn't have a choice but to start listening. And when I started listening, I started uncovering a lot of layers of insecure, whether it was insecurity or things, these belief systems or limiting beliefs, not being connected to my authentic self. A lot of these things came up. For the first time, I've always journaled. I've always had that outlet to be able to do that. Um, but really being in tune and listening in and making that active effort to listen into my body was yeah, it was kind of eye-opening that, like, this is what I need at this time. So I recognized some of the things that I need, like, I was seeking extra love and support during my harder days, and I never was able to communicate that before. But I didn't even recognize what that looked like for me. So that was, understanding that it's okay to want extra love and support, especially when I wasn't receiving it from the people that I would have hoped I was going to get it from. It was, yeah, and things like that. Just being able to honor that, and
Mhm.
and by honoring it, acknowledging it, you can also be there for someone else. And that, I think, was really important for me, because when I started recognizing it more for myself, I started being able to empathize and understand it and see it more with the patients that I worked with. So I think for me, that had a larger purpose. That was really to be able to serve, hopefully in a more holistic way.
Hmm. Oh, and this theme has come up in so many conversations this week. This theme of asking for help and
Yeah.
learning how to ask for help and being okay with
Yeah.
asking for help, and just recognizing that we aren't meant to do this life alone.
Alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know for you, you've talked about like building that community um, for yourself. Like, how has that journey been? Because I think, like I said, so many people, we try to do things alone. We're independent. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out on my own. This is kind of the mentality that so many people have, right? So can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that process of being okay with asking for help and building that community?
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, and I think it's such a hard thing. It was such a hard thing for me, and I think it's also very cultural too. I don't know, in our culture, asking for help is still like a no-no. You just don't do that type of thing,
Mm,
especially in my immediate family and my extended family. Yeah, and you don't talk about your illness. You don't talk about what's going on. Um, and it was a challenging process because I physically needed help, like even to go
yeah,
to the bathroom or shower. When I have these paralytic attacks, I can't move, so I actually need that physical support, and it was killing me from the inside. I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to live like this. But then, because it was again out of my control and I needed that help and support, it just, I think it opens up your perspective a little bit broader, and maybe even as being a doctor, that like if people are reaching out for help to get, for medical support, then it is a form of help and there's nothing wrong with it, because I'm more than happy and willing to give it. Then I have to be okay in receiving it. And I still struggle with that. I honestly still struggle with that. And I think over, when you go through something so deep and traumatic and with so many layers, you lose connections that you've had with people too, because people are not going to, they haven't gone through what you've gone through, they haven't had the same journey as you. So sometimes you see yourself, and when you're doing the inner work even more so, you become a new version of yourself that maybe others can't keep up with, for the lack of a better term. And it's it's hard because sometimes, again, it comes back to that concept of letting go to bring in the new. And I think working with talking to you has helped me a lot with this, that new people can come into your life and be that help and support for you, and be that, I call it the safe squad for you, that set of people who will listen, give that unconditional attention and love, and without that judgment, to go with it, because we are a society full of judgment. And it's because of all these barriers, asking for help becomes that much harder. And like I said, I still struggle with it, but it's something that, at least now, what in my core, I'm able to identify that. I'm able to acknowledge that I'm not feeling well. And if someone isn't going to be able to help me, at least uplift me, then I need to retract from certain situations, certain environments, certain people, so that I can be uplifted, so that I can be nourished in ways that are more fulfilling. And that might still be being alone, or that might be reaching out to someone, in that moment, for extra support or something to bounce back, or some just to talk, and get it
mhm.
off your chest. So it's a work in progress, 100% for me, but it's so important, to ask for that help. And more, I can guarantee more people are willing to give that help and receive it. So I just want to bring that, perspective, that it's okay to ask for that help too, because it actually shows a sign of strength than weakness. It shows that you are willing to grow. You're doing the inner work to grow as a person, to grow as a human being. And it's only one step in the journey. And if someone is there, or something is there to support you, then it's actually a sign of a strength, and go for it.
Yeah. So many things kind of came up for me as you were talking about your journey with that. And like one of them is that often, sometimes we do need to find new people outside of our current circle because they don't have those, like we talked about identity, right? And how other people
Yeah.
identify us in a certain way too. And so sometimes the people that are closest to us um, have a hard time understanding because they've identified us in a certain way. So
Yeah,
sometimes we do need those new people in our life who can just kind of accept us for where we're at right now. Um,
exactly.
and then the other thing that that came up, well, let me think. um,
Yeah.
oh, what was it? It'll come back to me. Um, it'll come back to me. But we do have a question here. So
Yeah.
someone is asking if you could share anything about journaling and if it,
Mhm.
oh, sorry, just before we go into that, the thing that came up, the second thing that came up was that often, because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? I
Mhm.
think so many people can relate to this idea of people not understanding, right? Just by looking, oh, you look fine, right? When we're
Yeah.
dealing with
Yeah.
particularly some, mental health condition, right? It's like, oh, well, you look fine. Why don't you want to go hang out? Or why do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why can't you go to work? Or so I think so many
Yeah.
people can resonate with that experience too that you spoke to. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Um,
course.
yeah. So the question was if we could share anything about journaling and if it can help relieve anxiety. If you have any experience with that.
Yeah, so journaling is so powerful, so, so powerful. And yes, it can help with anxiety. In fact, when I was in middle school is when I started journaling for anxiety specifically. I think I've journaled since I was like 5 or 6, but yeah, I had anxiety, and looking back now with the diagnoses that I have, it was actually more rooted in one of these diagnoses. And again, I was dismissed. I was not given the proper care and attention for that. But I think anxiety has so many root causes. It could be trauma, it could be a medical condition, it could be so many different things. So I think one, understanding that, and I'm validating you, whoever experiences anxiety. I think that validation is so important to have as well, because once you start uh, accepting that, and seeing that it's, people can relate to that, that's something that I journaled about as well. Like, this is how I feel in the moment, and just write, like, what is my anxious thought? Like, what is it literally playing in my head? The nice thing about journaling is that it's open slate. It's a clean slate. You don't have to, there's no prompt. There's nothing that you have to start or end with. It could be a picture. It could be a drawing. It could be lines that are like really like you're kind of putting out your anxious energy away. You're putting it to rest kind of by scribbling, whatever it is. But um, journaling is powerful, like I said before, because if you do it regularly and you are able to express your thoughts in the moment, maybe even start writing about the situations that happened before and after that anxious surround situation or event, we can start identifying patterns of what is going on. So maybe you start journaling, and for 7 days in a row you've journaled, what your thought processes are, what's happening. You can go back and identify, like, okay, like these are the things that are triggers for me. These are the things that really freak me out or make me anxious. Now, how do I go back and prevent it? How can I implement a tool, whether it's practicing gratitude, whether it's affirmations, whether it's dancing or exercising to release that extra energy, or whether it is meditating or breathing, and put these tools in place to help prevent that anxiety from happening in the next place, or to be able to go back to that calm, cool, collected place that Dr. Kirsten was talking about, and be able to start there. So I think it's open-ended. There's so many benefits to journaling, but yeah, that's just one place to start.
Yeah. And Dr. Radley during his Q&A, and during his talk, he talks about how it's benefited him. And we have
Mm-hmm.
a talk from Dr. Victoria all about
Mm-hmm.
anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
some tools that she's used during her
Yeah.
Q&A. So we have lots of resources for you that we've
For yeah.
talked about during this summit. So please feel free to check those out as well. But just like you said, sometimes all we need, I'll tell people, just set the timer for 5 minutes and just brain dump,
Yeah.
no prompt, just
Yeah.
whatever is going on, just to give
Exactly.
yourself that space to decompress and kind of let it flow. And
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, and there has been research showing, especially how it can help us with sleep and just so many parts of our health and well-being. And
Yeah.
so I think just giving yourself that space to decompress, and like you said, then you're able to, when you're in a state, a more neutral state, you can reflect back and see, okay, how, what steps can I do
Yeah.
preventatively?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
it kind of gives back that power again in that moment back to yourself.
Yeah.
So you can, whatever it is, um, if it's with people, if it's a thought that's bothering you, but by putting it onto paper or even voice noting it, there's been times, when I'm a bit better now with my hand strength and being able to write, but I couldn't type or write for a really long time. For a couple of months, I couldn't even hold a pen in my hand. And I would voice note it, sometimes voice my thoughts, whatever's coming up. And that's a form of journaling as well. And just letting that release happen, because that's, you're sending that safety signal back to the brain that, hey, I'm okay. I wasn't okay a few moments ago, but I'm okay. I'm calm. I'm cool. I'm collected and ready to, do whatever it is next.
Yeah. I've also suggested sometimes for people to voice note while you're going on a walk, right? Because then you get
Yeah.
that dual
Yeah.
purpose of having the lateral eye movements that we know about,
Yes.
with forward movement,
So
right? So
true.
when we're walking, and then you can uh, help to process it by talking and recording. You don't have to send it to anyone. You
Yeah.
can delete it
Yes.
afterwards, just to help
Exactly.
yourself process.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. And if you're out in nature, that's a
Yeah,
third added benefit.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, so many great tools. Do we have any more questions or anything? Yes, Dr. Sarah. Love that perspective. Journaling to give your brain a safety message. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a great tool, right? So we've talked about breath work, we've talked about journaling, we've talked about compassion practice,
Mhm.
we've talked about letting go and finding purpose. So many great tools, and you have even more in the talk. Like I said, completely free for May being Mental Health Awareness Month, and you can still get access to it simply by registering for the Your Healthy Mind Summit. So any other questions before we kind of wrap up here? So thank you all so much for taking the time and being with us today. And Dr. Mansi, do you want to go through a quick breathing exercise with
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do let's do a mix of like a mini meditation and breathing. So we won't go into too much nuances
Yeah.
of breathing, but yeah, I'll kind of do the talk, and whoever wants to join in. So let's start by just gently closing our eyes and finding a comfortable space, whether it's on the floor or on the chair. Taking a deep breath in and out. And now place one hand over your chest and one hand over your abdomen. And this is just to help you feel the movement of your chest rising and your abdomen rising on the inhale, and feeling the chest and abdomen falling on the exhale. So take a deep breath in and release. And another deep breath in and release. And you can stay here and imagine that there is this white light traveling. It's traveling from the outside through your head into your body. And it's traveling all the way down your feet. And imagine this white light kind of going up and down, up and down. Keep breathing. This light is healing. It's revitalizing. It's this energy that is transporting so much love and joy into your heart. And as you breathe in that love and joy. And as you exhale, let go. Just let go. Breathe in love, joy. And exhale anything that you don't want to hold on to anymore. Let that white light travel up and down from your toes all the way up to your head and all the way back down. And gently tilt your head up. And on your next inhale, smile. You're breathing in hope. You're breathing in kindness. You're breathing in compassion, and let it go. Let go of whatever you don't want to hold on to. And just smile. There is hope. There is love. There is joy all around you. Take your next deep breath in, and this time exhale through the mouth. Breathe in and exhale through the mouth. Breathe in hope. Breathe in the power that you have within you, and breathe out through your mouth anything that you need to let go of. And one more, last inhale, smile, and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes gently. Move your body side to side, let it go, shake it off if you need to. And welcome back.
Oh, so lovely. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone feels calm and ready to take on the rest of the day. And where can people follow along with you? Where can they work with you? Where can they learn
Yeah, so you can follow me at Dr. Mansi Vira. That's my Instagram handle, and you can DM me. I'm pretty active on Instagram, so you can definitely reach out to me there. Also, my website, drmansivira.com. And yes, you can book a session with me. We can have a discovery call as well. And yeah, just I'm pretty accessible either way. And my email is contact@drmansivira.com. That's also another good way to reach out to me.
Wonderful. And you also have, I believe, a breathwork program, right?
I do. It's a 4-week program, and we meet for half an hour every week. So we go through the science of breath work and a lot of, just a lot of informational aspects of what breath work is, why we do it, why is it beneficial. And I found that having that background and knowledge actually helps my clients a lot. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kristen. Yeah, it's been yeah, really helpful to my clients that I've worked with to have that foundational understanding. And then of course we do a lot of breathwork practice as well. Yeah, so 20%, I'm offering 20% off for anyone who wants to join. Just mention your Healthy Mind Summit, and yeah, we can take it from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful gift. And thank you for your time here today, for your wonderful talk. It's always so inspiring to talk with you and always so knowledgeable. So thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
all
you.
for listening in and watching with us. We hope that you were able to get some good insights. I know I did. So thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for doing this summit. It is so inspiring. And I hope everyone is able to take advantage of all the amazing talks so far. And we have one more Q&A, and I'm so excited about that with Dr. Kristen. So yeah, and thank you for doing this summit. It's so important, and you're raising awareness for such an important topic that we all need more of.
Thank you. And yes, we have one more talk with Dr. Kirsten. We'll be going live this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. So be sure to tune in and join along with us then. So thank you so much. It's been so wonderful.
Same here. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you all a little bit later.
Yes. Bye. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, everyone.